The Dallas Cowboys at the quarterback position is one of the most legendary units in all of sports. From the 60s all the way up until the present, no position in American sports history has received more critically acclaimed attention like a Dallas Cowboys quarterback. The Dallas Cowboys quarterback is oftentimes considered to be America's darlings.
I enjoy sex as much as Joe Namath. Only I do it with one girl.
Now, as the quarterback of the Cowboys, I'm guessing you're rooting for the Maverick.
Please welcome Troy Aikman.
They've graced the cover of every sports magazine, played in some of the biggest games in sports history.
He is going to throw. Drew Pearson. He got it. Touchdown. And it's a pass to Drew Pearson. He caught it.
Back to throw is Aikman on first down. He throws inside the 5. Touchdown to Novacek.
Captured the affection of millions of people all around the world.
Turn out the lights. The party's over.
Has revolutionized sports TV.
Kill. Here comes a run to the left. It is a run to the left.
And for decades was a part of our family on some of the most important days of our lives. This is by far my hardest list. I'm sure that I'm going to take a lot of criticism for this list, so be nice. I want to say first of all, Dak Prescott is not on this list. I do understand if you disagree. After this season, I may come back and reconstruct it, but trust me, I've had my issues. You can't deny that he's one of the greatest quarterbacks in Cowboys history. With that being said, let's get to it. Meredith was the first player under contract in Cowboys history, but he didn't start his first few seasons. He would fall in line as the second-string quarterback behind Eddie LeBaron for 2 seasons. Made the full-time starter in 1963, Meredith wouldn't look back. From 1963 to 1968, he was top 10 in passing yards and touchdowns. Although Meredith wasn't the most accurate quarterback, he was one of the most explosive passers of the ball in NFL history. In 1966, he passed for 24 touchdowns in 13 games. Meredith put together back-to-back seasons with a 7+ touchdown percentage. From 1965 to 1968, Meredith in the Dallas Cowboys passing game was the most explosive unit in all of football. Dallas led the league in 1965 with 17.1 yards per completion. The next season in 1966, Dallas again led the league with a 15.8 yards per completion. In 67, Dallas was 5th in yards per completion, and in 68, they were 4th in yards per completion. That's 4 straight seasons in the top 5 in yards gained per completion. Meredith is perhaps the toughest quarterback in Cowboys history. In the time during the 60s when the NFL was at its most brutal period, Meredith in 1963 was the 6th most sacked quarterback in football. In 1964, he led the league in time sacked. In 65, he was 2nd in the league in time sacked. In 66, he was 4th in time sacked. And in 68, Meredith was 4th again in time sacked. If we put those numbers together, he had over 197 sacks in 5 seasons. Meredith was from a different cloth. He broke his nose 26 times, had numerous concussions, played with fractured kneecaps, bruised limbs, broken ribs, and he once left the hospital and played a game with pneumonia. He was one of the most beaten up quarterbacks of the 60s and yet led his team to 2 championship games and retired as one of the greatest deep passing quarterbacks in NFL history. Although he never won a Super Bowl, when the lights were turned off and the party was over, he tamed the hearts of millions of fans all around the world. Rest in peace, Meredith. Danny White is basically the Tony Romo of the 80s, one of Tom Landry's greatest students who played the system the way it was meant to be played, but also received way too much criticism over the time span of his career. White tried to fill shoes that was impossible to fill with aging teams and old, outdated systems that the league had caught up to. In 1975, the Dallas Cowboys selected White in the NFL draft. White began his career as a puncher for the Dallas Cowboys, who happened to also be the backup quarterback to the legendary Roger Staubach. When White got the start in 1980, he tore through the league and put up numbers that we've never seen before out of a Dallas Cowboys quarterback. In 1980, he was 5th in the league in passing touchdowns. In 81, he was 8th in touchdowns. In the strike-shortened 82 season, 3 quarterbacks led the league with 17 touchdowns. White was the only quarterback in the league with 16 touchdowns. He was 2nd in touchdowns that season. In 1983, he was 2nd in touchdowns again. And in 1985, he was 9th in touchdown. That's 5 seasons with elite touchdown numbers. He was top 5 in touchdowns for 3 seasons in his career and was top 2 in touchdowns for 2 seasons. His quarterback rating and touchdown percentage from 1980 to 1985 was one of the best in the game and top 5 numbers in that stretch. White made it to 3 straight NFC championship games. Yes, he didn't win, but going to 3 straight NFC championships is something that only 2 other quarterbacks in franchise history can say they did. He had a better win percentage than Troy Aikman and more passing touchdowns than Roger Staubach. I know this pick would not make a lot of Cowboys happy, but Tony Romo was that dude. Just like White and Meredith, Romo received unjustified blame for the failures of the front office. If Roger Staubach was Captain America, Romo was Captain Magician. His ability to make defenders look completely lost was out of this world. It was like he had eyes in the back of his head, dodging defenders and throwing daggers like this one.
Different salary structure. Romo, end zone, Terrence Williams!
Was a staple piece of his craft that mystified the nation on almost a weekly basis. One of the most misconceptions about Romo was that he didn't perform in big games. That's a lie. When Romo retired, he was top 15 in fourth quarter comebacks, and he only had 7 full healthy seasons. Put this into perspective. If we compare Romo's 8 healthy years to the first 8 years of Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, and Drew Brees, Romo put up similar stats. These are some of the greatest quarterbacks in history, and yet Romo has similar numbers in his 8 full healthy seasons. He also had better elite seasons than Warren Moon and Dan Fouts. I'll leave you with this nugget. Prior to last season, in the 56 Super Bowls that has been played, 38 of the teams who were measured better on defense and points allowed were Super Bowl champions. Romo only had a top defense and points allowed once in seasons where he's made the playoffs. This was such an important stat. I decided to go back into history and look at other legends and see where their defense and points allowed ranked during their Super Bowl runs. What I found was remarkable. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Kurt Warner, John Elway, Brett Favre, Troy Aikman, Steve Young, Joe Montana, Roger Staubach, and Terry Bradshaw. These quarterbacks never won a Super Bowl when their defense failed to be in the top 10 in points allowed. These are the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the NFL, and yet none of them won anything without a top 10 defense. The 90s team of the Dallas Cowboys was stocked with legends like Emmitt Smith, Deion Sanders, Michael Irvin, Darren Woodson, and Larry Allen. But the most underrated player of that era was Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman was the heart and soul of the Dallas Cowboys during their championship years. He was deadly accurate and one of the most clutch postseason performers the NFL has ever seen. When Aikman was drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, it was the start of the Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson era. Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson would eventually bring America's team back to glory. From 1991 to 1996, Aikman played on an elite level that few have seen in Cowboys history. Let's look at it. From 1991 to 1996, he was top 5 in completion percentages. From 1991 to 1999, he was top 10 in completion percentages 8 out of 9 years. Let me say that again. Aikman was top 10 in completion percentages 8 out of 9 years. He reached the top 10 in passing attempts just 2 times, which confirms what Aikman has been shouting for years about. Most elite quarterbacks of his time had chances for better passing stats because of the scheme, not the arm talent. I have no doubt in my mind that if Aikman was put into a passing scheme like the 49ers, he would still have unbroken records to this day. From 1991 to 1996, he was top 10 in yards per throw. From 1991 to 1996, he was top 10 in passer rating 5 out of 6 seasons. From 1994 to 1995, he was an extremely accurate passer in the red zone, throwing for 20 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. During Aikman's career, he was even more accurate in the postseason. During his first Super Bowl run in 1992, he broke Joe Montana's record by throwing 83 times without an interception. He had 8 passing touchdowns that year versus 3 top 10 defenses. When the competition got better, Aikman got better. Remember, Aikman put up these numbers against better competition and when the stakes were high. He was clutch, accurate, efficient, and one of the greatest leaders the league has ever seen. When we look at players who played on championship teams of the Dallas Cowboys, was Aikman underrated? He sure was. Is he the GOAT quarterback? No, but that's only because of this guy. I was thinking about this the other day. What is influence? Influence is having the ability to affect people. When I think about all of the legendary players of the 70s, no one influenced the generation like Roger Staubach.
We were so kind of inundated with Captain America that I stopped reading comic books because of Roger Staubach.
If the Dallas Cowboys is America's team, then Staubach is America's captain. Staubach first came into the league on fire. We've never seen anything like it before. He was a quarterback who made defenders look absolutely foolish. Staubach played like he was dancing at a ballet. He had amazing scrambling abilities and was amazingly accurate. When Staubach finally got the starts over Craig Morton versus the Cardinals in Week 8, he put together a stretch that few quarterbacks ever accomplished. Let's look into the numbers. In a 10-week stretch, Staubach was third in the league in completion percentage, second in the league in touchdown percentage, and first in the league in interception percentage. In 1971, the league's average for passer rating was 62.2. Roger Staubach had a staggering 104.8 passer rating. That's a 42-point difference than the rest of the league. To show how efficiently effective he truly was that year, take a look at his yards per attempt. Staubach averaged 9 yards per attempt and yet was highly efficient with just 4 interceptions. He was second in the league in NYA, first in the league in ANYA, and led the league in passing rate by an amazing 14 points. Compared to the rest of the league, his 1971 numbers was one of the greatest margins of proficiency in NFL history. He made his first Pro Bowl that season. In the 70s, Staubach was one of the most efficient passers in the league, winning the passer rating title 4 times. What separated Staubach from every quarterback on this list is that for an entire decade, he never had a losing season. He spent the majority of the decade playing in either the Super Bowl, the NFC Championship game, or the divisional playoffs. He wasn't just a winner like Aikman. He wasn't just a magician like Romo. He didn't just cop to the nations like Meredith, but he embodied all of these quarterbacks in one. And this is why Captain America is the GOAT quarterback in Cowboys history and one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. Until next time, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And as always, thanks for watching.